Want to hear a success story of someone who had zero experience in nonprofits, let alone grant writing, and who is doing this on top of her full-time job without her full-time job knowing she's even embarking on a side hustle? Ashley's been in the collective for a little over a year, and she is so committed to making her dream a reality. I know you will be inspired and encouraged to do the hard work to get through the valley of despair so that you too can find momentum and ease in this journey. Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing a bit of your story. I can't wait to dive in. Welcome, Ashley. I am so excited to share bits and pieces of your story today.
I appreciate the offer.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how familiar were you with grant writing before you joined the collective?
1.
Excellent. Little tiny bit experience or really none?
None. I came from the corporate world and had transferable skills, but had never written a grant. I mean, I volunteered with organizations, but not in a grant writing capacity.
What drew you to grant writing?
Early in my career, I always wanted to do something awesome for the world, and I got sucked into corporate life and the perks and the benefits and the structure of it. I couldn't get out, so I started doing the volunteer work. I started thinking about my chapter 2. I did a little bit of research and took some classes and thought about my skill set and landed on grant writing.
Your valley of despair was pretty real. Was not that long ago. So paint us a picture of what your valley of despair looked like.
It was surprising to me because I'm a really confident person, and out of the gate when I started with the collective, I started in November, and going into the holiday months, I jumped right in. I started doing the informational interviews in December. They're not out of the ordinary for me. When I decide I want a new day job, that's what I do. I identify companies that I want to work for, and I do informational interviews. I was working the system, worked through all of my warm prospects, and had some good conversations, but I really still couldn't land anything. I felt like I was following the recipe and I wasn't still producing an edible product. A big thing that helped me was I subcontracted with another unicorn. Forever grateful for giving me that opportunity. With that a little bit more and the micro lessons that we did over the summertime, those helped me fine tune a little bit about how I maybe could be changing the conversation and the informational interviews. I think those things came together.
I will say one of the turning points that I saw from the outside was that you committed to the skill of informational interviews. But what it takes is actually this investment in committing to the skill, the art and the science of it. And I think you really dove into that.
Absolutely. Like I said, I just took that on full bore. I took the initial spreadsheet that you all provide us with, but I maxed it out. I have tabs of warm prospects, dead ones, still some hope. Everybody's got a line item, all kinds of details. Very solid about my follow-up. If I can't get a meeting, then they're on a different tab.
You came in with your scripts. I remember we looked at your transcripts a couple of times from your meetings. You were doing all the right things, and yet we could still do these micro adjustments, or you ask this question a little bit more clearly, or you dig for the pain a little bit more there. I saw you commit to those micro improvements that do actually have major results.
Absolutely. I had worked through all my warm prospects, referrals, and now I was at a cold list. And that's when I shifted gears. I really enjoy networking. I love to meet new people, find out what their problem is, see if I can connect them with somebody else. I'm not always looking for business. I really want to know, what do you do and how can I help you and who can I introduce you to? When I made that shift to doing more in-person things, that has really gotten my flywheel going again.
The energy in which you just painted that is the super connector energy. Tell us about the power of networking, because you did then land your 2 paying clients.
Yeah, had informational interviews with an organization that did not need my grant writing services, but gave my name to somebody else who did, and that ended up being my first client. It's same thing with the other client that ended up being a paid client. Same thing. I had an informational interview. Actually, that was with a grant writer who said, you know what? I don't ever have any overflow. I'm dedicated to this particular organization. I'm a contractor, but I'm dedicated to them. But I know an organization that could use a grant writer, and she gave my name, and that became my second client. So I was really happy about that.
It's just insane what can come, 1, from planting seeds even forever ago, and 2, like not limiting yourself of who you talk to. You have no idea where the opportunity will come from.
I have no limits. I took my motorcycle to a friend of a friend's house to have him do some repairs. I was chit-chatting with his wife that I'd met briefly before, and I was telling her about my grant writing, and she's like, oh, well, I know 2 different organizations that could probably use your services. It can happen anywhere. You never know who somebody knows.
I'm so grateful for your confidence and your ability to be like, yeah, I'm a grant writer, I'm doing this next, and just open it up, see where it takes you. And I want to acknowledge that you have done this networking on the side of a full-time job. This full-time job doesn't really know that you're searching for a new invention of Ashley.
Yes, I'm keeping that under the radar. are.
Yeah.
I have set up a separate LinkedIn company page that I use. One of the informational interviews I got, a person that I used to work with, he shared something about a nonprofit organization. I'm like, did he change jobs? And so I went and looked, and he was a board member. And so I'm talking to him. I've had several meetings with him, and he's ready to introduce me to the nonprofit that he serves on. I am lucky that I create my day calendar. I'm a corporate project manager. I schedule meetings. It's very infrequent that somebody else schedules a meeting with me. I set up a Calendly to set up meetings with people. I know what times in my mind I always block as opportunities for the grant writing, informational interviews.
And on the side and under wraps, and I do think that there's a difference there, right? I am grateful that you acknowledged also the privilege of being able to shuffle your own day job work around to accommodate this. That isn't always possible. It is clear that you are ready for this next thing and you are building so you get to the point where you can say goodbye. You're doing so with so much clarity that it's also allowing you to prioritize. What has helped you balance both of these things happening at the same time?
It has been challenging. I have a whiteboard over here on the wall, and that is all my grant writing stuff. At the beginning of the week, I go through my business calendar and see what meetings I have set up, what informational interviews or follow-ups with clients, and I put them on the whiteboard. I can be on a work meeting and kind of look over there, oh no, I've got a 3 o'clock. It takes a lot of organization and structure, but those are my strengths. I'm really good at herding cats and keeping everything square. There are days it gets a little hairy.
And I'm sure there's been moments where you've had to refinagle schedules or do different things like that. I'm assuming you just do that with transparency so that you can move forward.
When I have to refinagle something at work, it's not too big of a deal. I tell all of my clients that I do have a day job. Tell them that this is a side gig with intention to become full-time. Before we ever agree to work together, and let them know, listen, I'm going to work different hours than you probably will. That does not mean that I expect responses from you in those times.
Have you ever received a weird comment back on that?
I haven't. I had one guy that I did not end up doing business with because it was just too large of a commitment that he was looking for. And he emailed me back. He said, I think it's so awesome that you are doing your own thing and trying to develop it. Kudos to you.
By communicating clearly what you can and cannot do, you also are very clear in what relationships you can and cannot take on. And that clarity helps you balance both things happening simultaneously.
I prefer in-person networking. Yesterday, literally, I had a breakfast meeting, a lunch meeting, and an evening event. That's my gig. And when you get in front of somebody, they see your passion and excitement. Somebody told me last night at the event, she's like, you said you were a corporate project manager. You're like, ho. But then when you start talking about your grant writing, you're like, I'm a grant writer. I really encourage people, in addition to the informational interviews, to get out in person. There's just so many opportunities.
Hugely. In person is working again, and people are yearning to be in person. Applying the informational interviews to the in-person event, you can go to an event with 100 people at it on Thursday night and be really strategic and talk and share. That is an amazing opportunity to get a ton of informational interviews done while being really constrained during your day job. What is your why?
I want more time for me. My husband unfortunately had to retire from work early due to some health issues. So he has all the time in the world when he's feeling well. And I'm like, I have 27 days off a year. I want the flexibility and the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I know that I am structured enough to still do what I need to do with whatever my commitments are, but I want the freedom.
Do you know what the moment is when you're going to say yes to full-time grant writing and no to quitting?
I have a plan. Right now, my target is to go part-time with my day job in February of 26. I really want 1 or 2 clients on retainers. I did get a really good contract set up for next year to write all the grants for a pretty sizable nonprofit in the Raleigh area. I guess that could count as one of my retainers.
And that's how we like to do the retainers, is still do the funding strategy and then have the retainer be writing the grants so that you know what the timeline is. It helps people who are working full-time jobs or who are homeschooling their kids or all these numerous things that take up a ton of time and energy. The retainers actually help provide some scope and consistency.
My goal is to go part-time February of 26, and from there, the shortest amount of time possible to leave the day job altogether.
What are you ending your year at? And then what's your goal for year 2?
I was not happy with where I ended this year. Only had 2 paid funding strategies and a couple of smaller power prospectus. I finished up a little under 5,000. Next year, I'm going for 15,000.
I bet you'll surprise yourself this year. That could be a reasonable goal, and then our stretch goal is
25.
with 1 or 2 retainers retainer clients, you would easily be there. I am thrilled to have witnessed your journey up into this point and even more excited to get you to that 25K, 50K, 100K, like let's get that sweatshirt. But really what I am very impressed with is your commitment to this journey and the commitment of the art and science of informational interview and really understanding how to network with people. Your curiosity in that is just really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
appreciate all the tools and coaching that I've received in the program. And I can be tenacious and motivated, but a little bit of sharpening doesn't hurt.
I remember so many of the posts where you're like, what is happening? Why is this not working? All of the unicorns and the coaches jumping in and being like, we got you. You've been very honest about your ups and your downs, and that helps all of us.
I shoot for that. I know that I'm not the only one going through it. I know you guys talked about the Valley of Despair in the beginning. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go through that. I did. Anything that I can put out there that will help other people, I'm sure I'm not the only person dealing with something. So that's why I like to post and share.
I can't wait for version 2 when you say no to your full-time and part-time job and we wrap this into an amazing consultancy. So thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you. Appreciate it.